recording will be up on our college webpage in due course. Okay, thank you. So I hope everybody can see my screen. Basically, this short presentation is an introduction to the apprenticeship. I'd like to show a video, a very short video of a current apprentice and employer. Fingers crossed that that will work. And finally, in my presentation, I have a few key messages to employers that are approved or that
You're freezing, John.
That are waiting to about July last year. So it started, we started in October. And as you can see from that slide there are 6 slides. There's 6 streams within the apprenticeship. We have gardens and parks, we've hard landscaping, we've nursery stock, we've garden centre management, we've fruit production, and we've veg production. So last year, we started with the landscaping stream, and we started with 10 apprentices in that programme. Okay. Quick recap on the entry requirements for anybody that's thinking of becoming an apprentice. Leaving cert is necessary, which is level 5, because this is a higher education level 6 programme. It's deemed that you need a level 5 coming into it, and that level 5 may be a leaving cert, or it may be a level 5 certificate in horticulture. Now, if you don't have either of those, but you're over 17, you can qualify for the apprenticeship by having a minimum of 48 weeks work experience and an employer recommendation in horticulture. Okay, so that's what that slide summarizes. Generally, the year 1 program is a common program for anybody that comes onto the apprenticeship. Year 1 is 60 credits, and that's made up of 7 subjects which are listed there. So growing media, plant nutrition, plant science, your plant propagation, sustainable plant protection, your plant ident, which is really important, your IT, and your machinery health and safety. So in the current iteration of the apprenticeship, we've been delivering those 7 subjects to our 10 apprentices, and they're coming close to a finish now. Actually, they'll be finishing up in early July. So year 2 then is made up of more specialized elective type subjects, again, specific to the stream that the apprentice would be following. So for example, the landscapers will be doing advanced plant ID cultivation along with hard landscaping next year, along with financial management and sustainable horticultural practice. No need to get into the detail of that. That's the purpose of the webinar, isn't to go into the detail on that. I just wanted to flag it with people that that's the content that the apprentices would be doing in 2nd year. Now, I'd like to show this video, which is something we did recently on a national webinar for apprentices. As you may know, there are other apprenticeships which have been commandeered by Teagasc in the land-based sector. So we have 2 in agriculture and we have 2 in horticulture. So I'm gonna just show this video now, if I can. This is the web page, which is teagasc.ie, and on that we have links to our different courses. But I just want to show this video here now.
Kiernan is my name. I set up Lodge Park Landscapes back in 2007. Came from a farming background, so I was also going to do something land-based, and I pursued a diploma in horticulture in Kildalton. We're a landscape company. We design, build, and create gardens and outdoor spaces. What we the good way of putting it, I suppose. So that's from new gardens through to maintaining existing gardens.
My name is Conor Comfort. I'm 28 years of age. I'm from Kenny City. So I was previously in college doing a degree that didn't suit me. I suppose I fell into this industry through my dad. He worked in this area for the last 40 years or so. So I'm doing a level 6 hort apprenticeship. I'm based in the College of Amenity of Horticulture, which is based in the National Botanic Gardens.
Conor was with us about 2 years when we first got to hear about the apprenticeship scheme. Heard about it through Teagasc and the LCI, the Landscape Contractor Association. As I say, it was a no-brainer for us. He'd already been with us 2 years. It was the next step forward for him. For ourselves, we'll benefit as well because he'll bring back his knowledge back to the job. So it's a win-win, really.
From day to day, you could be working in a private house or you could be working in a commercial area. Each job is different, no matter what. If it's the same maintenance kind of work, it's still different. You're in a new area, a new bed, a new background. The sounds are different. Everything's different about the whole job area. So I just love the whole variety of each day-to-day work. Kind of just makes it more enjoyable that you're not stuck in the one area. We're only a couple of months into it, and I feel like I've learned a lot about botanical names of plants, plant protection, propagation, horticultural machinery, everything. So you're taught everything from the ground up. If there's anything I need help with, I'd go to Dermot. I told him to throw me into the deep end from the start, just so I could learn that bit quicker. And he has been doing that, which I enjoy as well. It's great working with Dermot and the team. Like, they all have different aspects and those different skills that they're better than each other nearly. Whether it's to do with plants or the groundworks, they all offer big benefits to me.
So the process is we get approved as employer. We get approved by SOLAS, as Conor does, and then it's back to Teagasc to get the apprenticeship up and running. In terms of landscaping itself, I love the variety of our work today. There's no 2 days the same. I think if you have an inkling, if you love outdoors, definitely consider horticulture. Come speak to us. Come ask us all about it. It may be for you. If outdoor career is for you, I think horticulture can be a very, very rewarding one.
Well, I suppose I hope I'd be doing it for the rest of my life anyway. This is just the start of it with Dermot, and I plan to be with Dermot for the next while. Well, as long as I can, I suppose. It's great for me to be with him, and it's great to have Dermot and the team to mentor me. I can't see myself doing anything else other than being outdoors.
Okay, that was a short video that we did recently for our national webinar on apprenticeships, and it showcases just one of our current apprentices and the journey that they took getting involved in the program. So I just thought that was useful. All of those videos are on our teagasc.ie education page under the National Botanic Gardens page. So anybody that wants to see those, please go to that location. I just wanted to put up this slide to inform people in relation to the numbers. So last year, as I mentioned, in 2023, we started with 10 apprentices in the landscape stream. We were delighted that took off because it really started the entire process of this apprenticeship, which has been in the making for so long, as many of you will know. So we've year one almost complete. For next year's intake, which I would say it's the 2024 intake, we'll be starting hopefully in early September. So currently I've just put up the number of named apprentices that I have had the pleasure of dealing with in the last while to get them geared for the next intake. So we've, on the landscape side, there's 3. On the nursery stock, there's 7. On the gardens and parks, there's 7. On garden centres, we have 3, and we have 2 on the veg side. We don't have anyone on the fruit side at the minute. Now, that's 22 current potential apprentices that are named. And when I mean named, they're named by their employer as being their nominated apprentice for the 2024 intake. So that's great news. Now on the top of that slide, I've said each intake needs 7 to 10 starters in order to progress. So we need to be very conscious of that. And that was one of the rules that was set down by the Consortium group that has set up this apprenticeship. So the Consortium is made up of stakeholders from the industry, some of whom are on the call at the minute, which we welcome. So they're the figures for where we are at the minute. The whole idea of this webinar, again, is really to prompt approved employers and almost approved employers to focus them on some key dates that are coming forward. And that's what the next slide is about. So the key messages for SOLAS approved employers is if you're approved and you've got your approval, and if you're interested in the apprenticeship for 2024, it's important that you identify your apprentice for the 2024 intake. Okay, so going to the previous slide, that has all been done with those people that I mentioned. The next step then is to register that apprentice with SOLAS, and we're hoping that that could be done by the end of June 2024. And the reason we're pushing that date is that we want to get the program organized for the September intake, and it takes time to do that. So we need to be conscious of our numbers, and we need to be cognizant of our numbers, I should say, and I'm looking to have that done by the end of June. We will then do Teagasc induction by the end of August 2024, and our course will start up in Teagasc Botanic September 2024. And that's our launch date again for the next intake. And I've mentioned there on the slide as well, every SOLAS approved employer can advertise for free on apprenticeship.ie for new starters in the industry. The whole idea of the apprenticeship was set up came from the industry and the shortage of skilled labor. Okay, so that's really, really important that employers take the initiative of advertising on apprenticeship.ie. I just want to show you I want to show you on the screen. This is the link. This is Generation Apprenticeship. This is the important website, and the links will be on the slide presentation at the end. But this is Generation Apprenticeship website, and what I'm landing on here is the Find Apprenticeship Jobs tab. Now, currently, and anybody can go into this is public knowledge, currently there's 6 companies advertising apprenticeship places for intake for the coming year. And that's fantastic to see. But my message is to all employers, either approved or to be approved, get your advert up there. That will draw talent to your door, young talent that's maybe in the wrong job and they're looking for new options to go into the outdoor career, which is fantastic, as espoused by Diarmuid Bergen and Conor Comerford in that short video. And this is the chance to do it. This is free advertising. This is a free ticket to many, many young people and people maybe not so young who are in careers that would like to get into horticulture. And that's why I'm putting that up there. So that's generationapprenticeship.ie/career seekers jobs. Okay. So that's my key message to SOLAS approved employers. Currently, we have 44 horticulture businesses that are approved with SOLAS on the Generation Apprenticeship website. And that's fantastic. We have 44 fully over the line, and they all have the ability to advertise on apprenticeship.ie and put forward apprentices that are in their businesses. Okay. The next slide just is the key messages for the waiting to be approved SOLAS employers. So just to make the distinction, these are companies who have started the process of becoming approved, but just haven't completed it yet for one reason or another. And there's absolutely no issue with me why people aren't finishing their applications. It could be down to the weather. It could be down to lots of different things. But what I have said here in this slide is engage with your authorizing officer from SOLAS to complete the employer approval process as soon as possible. And once you're approved, then you go and you do the same steps as I mentioned in the previous slide. Identify your apprentice, register that apprentice, induction at the end of August, and then the course start up in September 2024. That's the process. So for those 22, 23 employers, I'm just saying, finish the application process and become approved. And I know there's some authorizing officers from SOLAS on the call, and I'm sure they'd welcome that as well. Okay. So just a few slides that we had from other presentations on the employer approval process. The employer approval process is done between SOLAS and Teagasc. So anyone that's been in contact with me or your authorizing officer knows all about that process. And again, it's done through generationapprenticeship.ie. So it's a matter of following the guidelines there. Okay. So my final slide here is to everybody, find the relevant information. So I've put up the links there to teagasc.ie, education, apprenticeship.ie, and apprenticeship.ie career seekers. So there's a lot of information in the realm at the minute about apprenticeships, but you need to go to the right sources. So teagasc.ie, education, and apprenticeship.ie is where you will find the proper information on apprenticeships. I've also said there on that slide, we'll be at Bloom this year in the Phoenix Park. That's a big 5-day festival. I'm sure everybody is familiar with it. It's from May 30th to June the 3rd. And we're there in conjunction with our other government agency partners, Bordbia and Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine. So you can't miss us. We're on the right-hand side as you come into Bloom. And we'll be there across the 5 days, and education will be to the fore, talking to people about apprenticeships, talking to people about all of our courses that are available in horticulture in our 2 colleges, the Botanic Gardens and Kildalton in Kilkenny. And finally, our next open day in the Botanics is Friday, the 14th of June. And you will find the link on Eventbrite, and everybody is welcome to that. So that's the second Friday in June after Bloom as well. And we'd be happy to update anybody that wants to come along about any of our courses, including the apprenticeship. Okay, so that's my presentation. Again, I'll make that presentation available on our website as well, and this recording will be on the website. So at this point, I'm just going to stop sharing, and I'm going to open it up to anybody that wants to come in and ask any questions. And I welcome my colleagues. Grace is online there. Deirdre, the assistant principal, is online as well. I want to welcome Gary Graham as well, and I want to give a special mention to Gary Graham. Gary is the chairman of our Horticulture Apprenticeship Consortium group, who is chairing the consortium group at the minute. And we've had some recent meetings and we've a lot of interaction. So without Gary, a lot of our progress would have not happened either. So thank you for that, Gary. So I'm available to answer any questions if anybody has any specifics that they want to ask at this point. And I want to thank all participants. There's 37 on the call, so that's great. Or feel free to add questions to the chat if preferable. Thank you, Grace.
John, can I ask, did you want to mention the fact that there is a small grant, if we call it that? Yeah, it's a small issue, but I think for some employers it might be helpful because there is that. Yes. What, 50 days away from work? Do you want to mention that to those, to make sure everyone's aware of that? I
will, of course, Gary, and thank you for raising that. So yeah, one of the characteristics of the apprenticeship, the consortium-led apprenticeship, is the government has put in place a subsidy to be paid to employers who take on apprentices. Currently, that subsidy is €2,000 per apprentice per year. So it's paid in 2 tranches, depending on the attendance of the apprentice. So the apprentice has to attend. So yeah. Now, one of the things we're being told is that grant is going to increase. So that hopefully will be an announcement in due course, but at the minute it's €2,000 per apprentice per year paid to the employer directly. And just on the issue of fees, I suppose we've said this before as well in other information sessions. There is a fee for the apprenticeship to do the apprentice, because it's a higher education course at level 6. That fee for the current horticulture apprenticeship level 6 is €1,375 per year for the apprenticeship, which I think compares quite favorably when you look at other higher education courses that are in the €3,000 plus bracket for other higher education courses in third level colleges.
John, can I just make one other point? That
Of course, Gary, yeah.
And then I'll be quiet. That brings to mind how important it is. And we've been very strong with this message within the ALCI and with landscapers that you want to be fairly confident about who you're putting forward. It's a big commitment, not just financially, but in every way, in terms of mentoring and training and so on, and management. So if you're putting someone forward maybe who you don't know, or maybe hasn't worked with you very long, you want to be careful of that. And ideally give people some sort of a trial, I would say. That's the advice that we've given to everyone, and that has worked well. And I think that's why we still have 9 of the 10 from last year. That's part of that story, I think, anyway. And I think it's important to make that point, John. Absolutely, it is, and that's well made, Gary. I mean, to be an apprentice, you have to be an employee of a company. Now, any company that takes on any employee, they take them on maybe on a trial basis, they take them on a probation basis, and the same would go for apprentices. I have said to many employers, in advance of becoming an apprentice, that person should be maybe part of your workforce for a while, but at least for a short trial period, so that you can commit to sponsoring, if you like, that person for the next 2 years of training. But as Gary says, a key thing in the documentation that apprentice employers are schooled on is the ability to mentor. And to mentor anybody requires time, it requires patience, and it requires expertise. Not every employer will be a suitable mentor, because employers are busy running their businesses, and they have to make time to do this. So it mightn't be for every part of the life cycle of a business. But it's a very important point. Now, I think there was a question there. Sorry, Grace. Yeah, go on.
No, I was just bringing that to your attention. We have a question from Colm O'Driscoll there.
Yeah, Colm had a question there in relation to the timings of the release. So yeah, it's a good point, Colm, and thank you for that. So our apprentices come in to the Teagasc College in the Botanic Gardens and Ashtown for 50 days each year of the apprenticeship. It's 50 days in year 1 and it's 50 days in year 2. Now, the model that we're looking at is 4 days a month, of which 2 days are face-to-face and 2 days are online. That's the model that we want to put out there. There may be variations of that for second year, depending on the streams that is being done. And for next year's intake, we will lay that out for employers and for apprentices in advance of the intake, so that everybody knows what they're getting into. There may be times when we have to bring in people for a week at a time, but we look closely at our calendar and obviously the time of the year to suit the best time for employers to release their apprentice to the college. And it's important that employers do release the apprentice back to the college. That's absolutely fundamental. Anyone that has signed up to date, they're fully committed to doing that, even though, if you look at fine days outside when people should be back working on site, but they're inside in college, it's a long-term investment. You're investing for the future of your business, and you're investing in training, and that's always going to be adding to your business value added at the end of the day. There's another question there, Grace, I think, was there?
Yep, Bernie Moen there in the chat. Can you see that, John, or will I read it out?
You might call that out, Grace, please.
Yeah, so Bernie's question is the end of June a deadline to register apprentices? We have scheduled to run a recruitment campaign in line with the Leaving Cert. The candidate appointed apprentice will not be identified until at least the end of July. Will this be an issue for September intake?
Yeah, it's a fair question, Bernie. Good point. I've said the end of June to precipitate as much as possible. I'm happy to look at individual cases after that.
I think if I correct me if I'm wrong here, John, the June date was also to kind of facilitate trial runs for employers as well, wasn't it?
Indeed.
To make sure that there was enough time. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, every week I'm involved in talking to people about apprenticeships and all that. But you know, there's such an amount of people I think out there that are in other jobs that would like to become involved in apprenticeships. And every week I get asked the question, where can I find a job to become an apprentice? And my go-to response is, well, apprenticeship.ie, job seekers. That's it. And as I said in the presentation, there's 6 companies that are advertising there for talent, and that's where to go. So one of the things that the NAO, the National Apprenticeship Office, is doing actually is they're refining their website to make it more customer friendly. So in a short time, they hope to have a portal on that website whereby you as an interested applicant will be able to express your interest in the same way that employers register their interest in the scheme. So I think that's going to be a great development. There'll be a matching of employers and would-be apprentices. So that'll be fantastic. So it will when that comes on stream. There's another question there coming in, Grace.
Yeah, so aside from offering employment / releasing the apprentice for college days, what other commitments do the employers sign up to? Are there reports and meetings? So I think a good overview maybe of the role of a mentor there, John, and how that works.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, good question. The role of a mentor is really important. It goes back to the essence of the apprenticeship, which is 80% work-based, 20% college-based. So straight away, there's a huge emphasis on the employment and the work that they do in the employment. And that work that they do in the employment is guided by the mentor. So if you go back to my earlier slide where I kind of outlined first year work, 7 subjects that we do in first year, each one of those subjects, which are absolutely crucial to the horticulture sector, they have what we call an on-the-job component, and there's an off-the-job component. So what we will do in advance of intakes is go through that syllabus with the mentors and say, this is where your direction will be needed. Okay, so it might be in plant identification. It might be helping the student with plant identification. It may be helping the student or the apprentice with the growing media aspect of the course, but guiding them with their daily work towards the learning outcomes of the module. So there's work for the mentor, but it's to be done in conjunction with the work that has been carried out in the business. It's not designed to be an additional layer of tasks that has to be done. We've written it so that it's guided along the current work of the business. And so far, I think it's working really, really well. We had a very good information session with employers before Christmas, just after the apprenticeship started. So that was really well clarified and well received, I think, by the employers at that time.
On top of that, John, then as well, can you outline commitments in terms of reporting or regular meetings that employers would have to be involved in?
Yeah, we're probably looking at 2 to 3 meetings during every academic year with the employers to see that everything is on track and to update them on progress with our side of the deal, if you like. So we look after 20% of the training. The employer looks after 80%. So we'll have 2 to 3 meetings a year with mentors or employers to see how that's panning out.
Brilliant. We have another question here, quite an interesting one from Barry Lupton,
Yeah.
which is, what lessons have been learned from the first intake of landscape apprentices, and are changes being made to reflect what's been learned? And he apologises if this has already been covered, which hasn't really, Barry, so don't worry.
Good.
Big
Thanks,
question.
Barry. Thanks, thanks, Barry, and thanks for coming on the call. Great to have you there. Well, there's been a lot of learnings, I would say, not least of all scheduling, I would say. Last year, the apprenticeship started on the 16th of October, a bit later than we expected, because we only got our validation on the 28th of July. So immediately this year, the first learning is we're going to start a bit earlier from the academic intake point of view, and that will serve to, say, spread the delivery a bit more evenly throughout the year. I think one of the learnings also is probably the contact that we need to maintain with the employers, but also with the students. I mean, we're very conscious of the students, apprentices. The kind of spread of apprentices that we have on that landscape is from Sligo down to Kilkenny, and which is great. You know, that means there's a national spread of the apprenticeship, which is what we wanted from the get-go. We wanted to include the whole of the country. So that proves it's there, but also I suppose the contact with the learnings and the maintaining of their contact on what we call our Moodle platform. We have an online Moodle platform which is very, very useful, which means the apprentice is in constant contact, if you like, with their tutors here in the college, and allows them to keep tabs on them on a daily basis if needs be, you know. So that, I think that's something we'll probably use better and use more. But every week is a learning week in this new program, and we're delighted to share that. One other thing we could look at as well is the variation in the days, the delivery of the days. You know, currently we were doing Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and we're open to looking at changing that going forward as well. So we're not fixed on that. Thanks, Barry. Cheers. Okay, Grace, anything else?
Not yet so far. I think it would be good to mention at the end of that point, John, just how much we are looking for feedback from employers, mentors, and apprentices going on in the scheme, because as being like a consortium-led kind of program, your opinions as employers, as people on the ground, are what is going to make this program progress and get better. So if once you are signed up and once you do have apprentices on the ground, we do want your feedback as we continue on, and we are completely up for hearing negative or positive so that we can amend and keep progressing the program as needed.
Fully agree. And, you know, I mean, that's certainly something we want to take on board, and we'll take it on board through our consortium group. I mean, it is industry led, and you know, one of the key terms of reference in the consortium group documentation is its job is to evolve the program. You know, so the iteration of the apprenticeship that we have currently, I've no doubt in 3 or 4 years' time, it'll be different, and everything changes with time, and we'll adopt new changes, and I've no doubt that will continue. I mean, I would reiterate the point for employers on the call is to follow up on your approval. That's really, really important. Follow up on your approval and follow up on nominating an apprentice. If that is to be, if that is to happen for you this year, do it sooner rather than later.
I have a new question in from Simon Wallace here, which is, would it be possible to get feedback from some of the companies participating in relation to how they manage on-the-job training?
I'm sure it would. Yeah, it might be something that we'll put a bit of thought into. Obviously, employers, there's about 8 employers currently who have those apprentices on the program. So yeah, it might be something that we could certainly look at, and maybe setting up another webinar, another session if need be, directly with employers, whereby we're talking to employers and asking them to feedback directly. Yeah, I think it's a good call. Yeah, might be something we'll talk about offline with Gary as well.
John, can I just add one quick point? Sorry, Grace. Just to the learnings there, to Barry's question, at at a sort of a higher level, I think, and we discussed it in some detail the last day with the consortium, one of the big learnings here is marketing. And maybe just maybe it's worth mentioning that, because I know you and Marcella and the colleagues there are working on that, and that's a part of the big plan for the future as well. Like we really need to do a lot more to raise awareness, because we're very quickly going to run out of prospective apprentices who are currently employed within the companies, within the industry, and we're going to have to make a bigger impact with school leavers and the wider sort of cohort of, well, maybe not all young people, but hopefully quite a few of them who are looking at career options. So that's a job of work that we have to do for the future. And I'm conscious that I don't know everyone on this particular call, but I know that there are a lot of companies and organizations who are very small and don't really necessarily have the resources or HR departments, or can't really go about this of putting the sort of effort or legwork that is required to put together a pool of potential apprentices and then screen them and interview them and give them trials and so on and so on. So that's, I think, an important part of the plan for the future, if you don't mind me saying that, John.
Of course, yeah. I mean, nothing happens nowadays without marketing, without a good online presence, without an overarching body like what you have in the landscaping sector to get things moving. So I mean, I'm very conscious of that. I mean, funding, part of the funding that we have access to will be directed towards marketing, and Teagasc is acutely aware of that. I'm conscious of the authorizing officers on the call, and I just want to give a shout out to the authorizing officers and SOLAS, because they are quite proactive in staging apprenticeship fairs, let's call them, and I've attended a number of those, and I know some employers have also attended those, and they're very useful. I mean, the first one that I was at, it was last November, I think, and it was down in Mulhern, run by Longford Westmeath ETB, and I mean, I was inundated actually with a young Leaving Cert type cohort that came to the Teagasc apprenticeship stand and were very, very probing. And I would thank the ETBs and the AOs for including myself and my colleagues in Teagasc to attend these apprenticeship fairs, because they're brilliant. They're fantastic because they're targeted. And, you know, we go to a lot of events in Teagasc. One of the biggest events we attend is the Higher Options event in the RDS that's held every September. That draws in a huge crowd of young people from schools in the Dublin, but also nationally. We'll be there again this year, and the apprenticeship side of the business will be hugely promoted. So, yeah, we're fully on that train, Gary. And the more we have contact with groups that are involved in this call and beyond, word of mouth really spreads this hugely too. But if we want to get at young people, we have to go online, and we have to get at the social networks that they're connected to.
We have one more question in there, John, which is, do we have the actual start date for apprenticeship course in September, as is the #1 question that candidates are currently asking, which I can answer if you want, or up to you.
Yeah, Thursday, 29th of August, I think, Grace, is our kickoff date. Yeah,
so we're looking at inductions for the last week of August, and then for the program to actually start then at the beginning of September.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Yeah, so the 29th of August, and then starting the first week in September. That's our target. The holidays will be over at that stage.
I think that's all of the questions now at the moment. If anybody has any burn-in questions, you can submit them now. Otherwise, I think we're looking good.
Yeah, as I said, we'll be at Bloom in the park for the 5 days of the festival. We'll have our next open event here in the Botanic Gardens for all of our courses in the Teagasc College on the Friday the 14th of June, 12 noon to 3 p.m. I'm always available at john.mulhern@teagasc.ie, or just contact us through the teagasc.ie webpage, Botanic Gardens.
I can also follow up after this webinar, and I can send out all the information, links and relevant details to all the participants. So thank you all so much for joining us today.
Yeah. I think that wraps it up. If there's no final questions, Thanks a million to everybody that has joined us. We'll have it recorded, and as Grace said, we'll have it up on our webpage very, very shortly. Thank you to Gary. Thank you to all the people that asked questions. Thank you to the Consortium group. Thank you to my colleagues Grace and Deirdre for facilitating this and all the work that they do. And listen, we're driving ahead with the apprenticeships, and it's going to be a very positive story going forward. So thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, John.
Okay.
Thanks,
Okay.
guys.
No worries.
Bye-bye.